Welcome to Job Sharing and Beyond, the Future of Work podcast that goes beyond the traditional 9 to 5. I am Karen Tischler, speaker, consultant, and host of the show, where we hear from global experts every other week to discover innovative solutions and tips on how to remain a relevant employer in the future. I'm delighted to introduce our guest today, Gabriel Rath. Gabriel is my first rapper guest. He hosts the German-speaking podcast NewWorkChat, where he has interviewed experts in digital transformation about their biggest learnings, as well as discusses with his guests new work, work-life balance, and more. His guests have included the first Danish mayor in a German city, flexible work advocates, as well as his grandfather. Gabriel describes himself being between daddy mode and digital life. He's married, dad of 3 daughters, a digital strategist, working at Mandarin Medien agency, advising companies to implement concepts for internal and external communication and for digital transformation. He has been a blogger since 2005 and is a sought-after keynote speaker and guest blogger about many topics, including new work, work-life balance, and more. He raps from time to time with his old friend Materia, for example, in front of the sold-out stadium in Rostock in front of 34,000 people. Welcome to the podcast, Gabriel.
Hi, moin.
It is so nice to have you on the show today. As we have so many people from all over the world listening to us, can you tell them a little bit, where are you currently, and is there any site or food that is particular in your area that you could recommend?
So let me see. I'm Gabriel, father of 3 girls, married husband. I live in Rostock, that's in northern Germany. Work in marketing and digital transformation for an agency. What can I tell you? I have some German bread here. Speaking about food, I heard German bakeries are famous in US or maybe also in Canada. Is that true?
I think so. I mean, yeah, we even have a local bakery that the baker was trained by a German baker. So yes, and I tend to go there and eat sometimes some special pretzels. Yes.
Okay.
Well, so you've already mentioned it, Gabriel. You're the dad of 3 girls. And could you tell our listeners a little bit more? Because so your website's title is Between Daddy Modus and Digital Life, which I just thought was such a perfect title.
Okay. When I became a dad, I was 30 years old, and our first daughter was, of course, a big gift for us, my wife and me. And when your first kid is there, a lot of crazy things happen. Like you don't get a lot of sleep at night, and you have to do a lot of things for the first time. And so I started writing about it on social media, on Facebook, like little stories about funny things we were experiencing. And suddenly a hashtag developed, daddy modus. That's like daddy mode, maybe in English.
Yeah.
So when I'm at home with my family, our little baby, a lot of these weird things happen, and then I'm like in daddy mode, daddy modus. And a lot of people seem to like these posts because they thought, oh, maybe I know this too, or they thought, oh, okay, that's how it's like to be a father. I don't need to have this maybe. So I started writing for a little magazine here in our town in Rostock. Maybe once in a month, an article about my life as a dad. And then our second girl came later, and a lot of more stories happened. And then I started to blog about it on my website. And with a third girl, a lot of these things repeated. So it was kind of boring to write it again. So I started to write about other things. And that's why now I'm writing sometimes about family topics, because for me it's very important to tell people that it's good to have a family, good to be married, good to have kids, and that there's a way to be a father, be a husband, and also have a job and do your things and maybe make your music, what I do with hip hop, or maybe blog, or maybe have a podcast. You can do this. Nobody tells you that you are not allowed to do this. You can do it, and you just have to try it. And that's what I do. Try to do it and try to blog about it. So share it.
Well, you are definitely the first rapper that is on my podcast. So I'm very appreciative about it. And it's just really interesting to hear and read about what you're doing, because I still feel worldwide there is not enough recognition and awareness raising about care work done by dads. And so the more we can make that come out in the open, that basically dads are, as one of my previous guests has said, dads can do any type of care work except for breastfeeding, which I just thought was a really good summarization. What I wanted to learn a bit more is, you were talking about, instead of saying like work life into work life balance, it's more like work life blending. And why do you say that?
A lot of people seem to think that they have to choose. Or maybe I have a career, and then first I my school, then I study at the university, and then I have my job. Then I have to do some steps in my job to build a career, and then maybe then have a kid and all these things. And I don't think that you have to choose between these sides. I think there must be a way. Has to be a way to combine these worlds, and that's what a fulfilling life is for me. So I have a lot of roles. Sometimes I am the dad, the husband, and then I am the guy who's on stage rapping songs. What I did a lot of times in my 20s. Now I'm 40, maybe in the 30s. Now it's like a hobby. Sometimes I do it, and all these things. I don't think it's good to see them black and white, but more to see them as a lot of colors that all belong to yes, to your life, and you can design your life, and you can really do all these things in your day, and not choose, but really blend these things. And I think this is what we in Germany discuss about the topic new work, because back in the days it was like I have to go to work in the morning, and then I do my job, and then I'm lucky when I can go back home, and I'm lucky when the weekend is finally there, and I'm lucky when I'm old, because then I don't have to work. But I think nowadays we have the possibilities to choose jobs we like, and maybe we feel have a sense for us, have a purpose, and at the same time have our family life, and to combine these things. That's what is fulfilling for me, and what I try to maybe I'll tell younger people, that it's really good, and that they don't have to do this or that. You can do both.
That is really interesting. And as you're mentioning the younger people, one of the things when I was doing research about you is that you are also now working with a school to do, like, and again, I don't know if all the listeners know, so there is the concept of working out loud by John Stepper, which is a a program to basically find a goal and get collaboration and support from the community. And so I'm very curious how exactly are you doing this in the school?
When my two older girls they came to a new school last year, and like at the same time, the head of the school, I don't know what you say, director? Is it director in?
A principal.
Yes, the principal wrote a message to me on LinkedIn. I thought it must be connected to my girls coming to a school, but no. He listened to a podcast of me, I think, and he wanted to know more about digital transformation and school transformation, and maybe asking me what I would think what he should do. And so we met, and I said we can talk about tools like Microsoft Teams and Zoom and all these things that are important now in this Corona crisis. But what's more important is that we discuss together with the teachers and together with the kids and with their parents, so all together, that we discuss what is really important in the future, which future skills are important for us. So our school system in Germany is more than 100 years old, maybe 200 years old. So, kids go to school, they learn something by heart, go back and forget it. So we said in our jobs, in the work world, we talk about collaboration, like working creatively together and agile maybe. Why not talk about it in schools? So how can we maybe take these things, take these learnings, and talk about it with the kids and the parents and the teachers? So we planned a series of digital meetups, which we do since, I think, late October, about the future skills, which are maybe tomorrow we have the next meeting about being brave. So
oh wow,
why it's important to be brave, and there is like a Mut. That's the German word is Mut for being brave, and there is an academy in Hamburg, in northern Germany, the Mut Academy. Like they talk with kids and parents and what it's like to be brave and how can they be brave and so on. And so now we do these things, and we said we have to do it. We have to share it. So this is where Working Out Loud comes in a little bit, where it's about being transparent, share what you do, and not only the results but also the process. So we stream all these meetups live on YouTube, so you can if you like, you can watch it, not tomorrow but maybe next time. And what happened, of course, is that people watched it by accident because they saw it on LinkedIn or on Twitter where we talk about it then. And then somebody from Italy wrote in the first meetup, "Oh, I just saw your live stream, and maybe I can help you because I worked in these fields." And so we connected, and that's the good thing, like in our podcast now, how easy it is to connect worldwide and get people together and work together on future topics.
That's really interesting. Now, one of the things that I feel very strongly as far as future skills, and I feel you are already doing it as a dad, describing what it's like to be a dad. Sometimes I feel in a school setting, it's still, is maybe too stereotyped. And so in a way, talking about unpaid care in a school setting so that kids, both boys and girls, learn more about what it will be to take care of children or what the future of work will look like. I think that, to me, that's always something here in the US and in Canada, there's something called take your kids to work day. And I feel one should reverse it and say, take your manager to unpaid care work at home, basically. And so I feel if children already know what it's like in the future, it just sort of will help them maybe more to not have that, I know what the word is, idolized idea of what it is to have a family. Because I feel sometimes when you look at, I don't know, movies or so on, as you described earlier, nobody talks about the hours that one stays awake when the child doesn't sleep at night, etc. So I don't know, is that something that you guys are also looking into, as far as like sort of, just exposing children what it really is like to, take care of children?
Yes, of course. I think it's really about dreaming, thinking about what could be, what might be, not just reading the text that somebody wrote centuries ago, but just thinking about it, just reflecting about it. Is it really important? How could we do this differently? And maybe also talk about how can we improve our society, our
Right.
family life, social life, talking about responsibility. And luckily, a lot of companies now start to talk about responsibility in society. Here in Germany, like maybe 10 years ago, it was like a marketing topic to talk about what we can do for society. But now I have the impression that there is more. But even this school project, we want to talk with the kids, with the parents, with the whole community. What could the future be like? How can we build the future, design the future? Because it's our future. We don't want to wait for it. We want to really build it. And so there is a responsibility even for the kids now, not just taking what they get, but really think about what they can do now. So what they need is time. So one little project we started is the Friday. In German, that's like a word play. Frei means free, so it's like a free day. So what the kids get is like free time on Friday, 2, 3, or 4 hours maybe, and there is a certain problem in this free time. They can think about how they would solve this problem together. So they can maybe visit companies or calling somebody, or however, whatever. Really try to be creative, not just do what others tell them to do, but really think about how can we solve this problem now. And there are very, very good experiences so far, because the kids really start to think for themselves, not just like consuming, but really creating. And that's, I think it's a very important thing to do. And that's what we can teach our kids, how, just asking them, how would you do it? And what would you do? Maybe if you were the president, or if you were the CEO, what would you do? Or if you were maybe the governor. And kids need to dream about it and just think for themselves. Oh, maybe it is possible to fly to the moon one day, or to do this and that, and like be really open-minded.
I really like that, because it really helps the children then to, as you said before, go beyond the sort of maybe more structured type of school system, and instead of just consuming all information coming to them, be more thinking for themselves, by themselves, and coming up with more innovative ideas. So I think that's awesome. And now you mentioned, say being a president one day, or a governmental person. And when I was doing my research and I looked at the guests that you have had on your podcast, NewWorkChat, it is such a broad range of people, among others, the mayor of your town in Rostock, but also people from New York and your own grandfather. So could you share? That was really a very fascinating episode for me to listen from a historic point of view. So I learned so much. So please tell your grandfather I really appreciate having him on the show and learning from him. Yeah.
I will.
Thank you. And so, so could you just sort of, give our listeners a little bit of an overview of your podcast?
I started my podcast as an experiment, just figuring out what I can do with a little effort, because I don't have a studio at home or something like that, just my laptop and headset, little microphone. But I think it's not about the perfect quality of sound. It's more about being authentic and maybe asking the right questions to interesting people. So I did this like blogging on my website in the beginning for myself, and I thought, this is an experiment and I want to learn. I want to learn, get to know people, learn from them, but also at the same time learn about topics which I work on maybe in my job, or other topics like the question, how do you manage family and work-life job? How do you do this? Because it's like a big topic for all of us now when we have our office at home and the worlds mix up. So I started this podcast 2.5 years ago, and I had no big goals. I just did this, enjoyed it, learned a lot, and maybe improved. So like, when you keep on doing something, you tend to improve, get better, maybe guests with followers on LinkedIn and Twitter, and then they share it, so your podcast becomes known, or maybe even famous or popular if you do a good job. But that was not my goal, to be in the top lists or best rankings of whatever podcast, but do this for me. And that's like that's my reason to do it. I want to learn, and in every episode I learn a lot. Even when I interviewed my own grandfather, which is 89 years old, I learned a lot because I asked the questions that I never asked. And so I think everybody can be a podcaster, even if you don't have your own show. It's about asking the right questions to not only the right people, but in general. I think everybody has certain topics and is an expert in certain topics. So you can learn something from maybe anybody. So, and that's what I learned when I did this podcast. It's not about finding the best experts or the people with the most relevance or so on, but it's about asking them questions that are important for me and maybe also for them. Sometimes, and I like it. Sometimes they say, "Oh, I haven't thought about it," or maybe nobody asked me this before. Like my own grandfather, I asked him about his childhood in the 1930s. So he really had to remember, and you could feel how he like revealed a lot of his old secrets. He said it's like opening a box of memories. That's the image he used, and for years he had not even touched this box or thought about this box. And now you're asking these questions, and you don't ask these questions when you maybe celebrate a birthday or drink a cup of coffee. You don't have these situations to ask questions. So I only can recommend for everybody to just take time, meet with people, ask about where they're from, how they do what they do, and I think we can learn a lot from each other.
I think that's a really good idea to, and it goes in the same, like, theme what we were talking about, collaboration. And if you do that on a worldwide basis, even more, from different cultures. And so now your focus is very much new work. For some reason, I would say in the US and Canada, that definition or what people talk about more here tends to be like the future of work. And so I was like looking at the differences. So what if somebody said to you, how would you define new work from your perspective and from when you talk to people, what would you say?
I think if you talk about new work, the term goes back to Fridtjof Bergmann, who worked in the 80s in the US and worked with General Motors and helped the employees to find a sense in work again. I think a lot of people still today don't like to work because it's like Fridtjof Bergmann wrote in his book, it's like soft illness, something like that. You can take it, but you are very lucky if work is finished, is over. So I think time is limited. So why waste it with work you don't like?
Right.
Maybe back in the days it was different. You had to do certain jobs. When I asked my grandfather in my podcast, how did you start or choose your first job? He said he was in a little village and there were maybe 2 or 3 like stores, little shops, and he just went to one and asked if there was work, and then he stayed there. So there weren't these possibilities to choose and these all these things you can do now. Now you can go on the World Wide Web and go to every country, apply everywhere. So this is like overwhelming for a lot of young people. However, I think it's very important to ask yourself what you want to do. Fridtjof Bergmann said everybody should ask themselves what you want to do really, really. So he said it 2 times. And I think a lot of people in our society, they don't ask themselves what they want to do. They just work and think that's it. But I think there's more. I think it's very fulfilling for yourself and for the others. It's very helping if you do a job that is connected with a certain purpose, that goes with responsibility. So even if you are in a big company, you can take responsibility and think about what could I do, not just taking orders. So this is new work. When we talk about bigger companies, don't just or maybe in the past they just gave orders like you have to do this, you have to do this, big hierarchy issues. And now I think the healthy companies, the successful companies, they give their employees really freedom to decide, to discuss responsibility, and this is kind of new in a lot of parts in our system, that the employees are not the human resources like back in the days, like time and bricks and all this, but they're really people with family problems and all these things, and they have to manage all these things. And I think the companies are successful or more successful if they really treat employees like people, like human beings with problems, with ideas, with potential. And it's about to unlock this potential, to ask the people, the employees, what do you want to do? How do you want to develop? And not just looking at employees like chess figures.
I really like that. I don't know if you know, but I tend to quote SAP often as a best practice. And I really think one of the things they do so amazingly well is to focus on their employees and making sure, like when I look at what they have done during the pandemic, when they realized, for example, that a lot of their employees were by themselves, living by themselves and having all these online barbecues, and also changing every management position into a job sharing potential, and by doing so enabling, from my perspective, a much more diverse workforce, because maybe somebody who due to their work-life balance or having to take care of elderly relatives simply could not work full-time at the time. So, and well, interestingly enough, also what turned out is that 43% of the people who are actually doing the job sharing on a co-leadership basis are male. So it, as we've talked earlier, it goes back to, it's not just focused on women. So, like, when I looked at your resume and what you have done, it was very interesting, as you were saying, like an employee is no longer just like, an object that gets shifted around, and all the different things you have implemented. Could you just tell our listeners a little bit of your background and why you've decided to do what you've done so far in your professional life?
I worked for a lot of companies. I'm not the type of guy who works 50 years for the same company. I need new ideas, new people, new challenges. So
Right.
after studying, I worked for a lot of agencies in Hamburg, in advertising, social media marketing, for instance, and online public relations. And then our first daughter was born, so we moved back to Rostock, where I grew up, and I worked for a startup. It was a very exciting time, little team, a lot of pressure, working long, but achieving a lot. Then I worked for like 400 people, big company, developed software. That was a good time for our family because our second daughter was born. So this was fitting, but kind of boring after some years. And then I worked for a bank. That was kind of surprising for a lot of my friends because I'm not the typical bank guy with a base cap and working for a startup and rapping, hip hop, and all these things. But I like the challenge to move something there in a environment that is how to say like old,
maybe conservative.
conservative, exactly. Thank you. But there were some people who wanted to do new things, like introducing a social intranet for social collaboration in the company. So I thought, okay, let's try it. Worst thing could be I fail, but then I learn something. So life goes on. So I was there for 4 years, and it was a very intense time. And after 4 years, I moved on to the agency I work for now. Like they are doing digital marketing and employer branding, helping other companies in recruiting and digital transformation, new work, which is like my favorite topic there. And now I can help companies or even schools in their transformation from the old world of work and existing maybe to a new type. And the world is moving faster now because of the digitization, the internet, artificial intelligence, all these things, robots, and so, etc. They really changed the world, and so companies need to change too. They have a lot of new challenges. They need new talents. They have to build a culture where the employees feel, how to say,
like appreciated,
yes,
maybe.
appreciated, and they feel they contribute and stay. And
Yeah,
then they have to be, companies need to be more creative than ever, developing new ideas, because a lot of new little companies like startups disrupt bigger companies, and so on. So you have to be creative and innovative, and innovation is something that was neglected in a lot of companies, and now people have to work together, collaborate, exchange ideas. Feedback is more important than ever, and what I do is try to help companies or maybe people to develop new ideas, helping them working together with tools, but also with a certain skill set, and what is even more important, a new mindset, because you can choose every tool, can buy Microsoft Teams and Slack and all Google, all these tools, but if you don't have the mindset to use it in the correct way, to share things, work together, giving feedback, if you don't do this, the best tool won't help you. So it's even more important to discuss, and that's what I do and what I love to do. How can we really develop our culture so that we use tools in a different way, that we use new tools, of course, so that every idea can be a good idea, not only the manager has these good ideas, but everybody can have them. And if you have the appreciation, and I have had some time in Hamburg, where I worked for this agency. There was a culture like everybody can have a good idea, and doesn't matter who he is, and that's a attitude I really liked, and I try to work with nowadays still in my job, so to say.
It sounds really interesting that, a lot of the skills and experiences you have, you applying now to your current job. And maybe, as you said, somebody might not have expected you to work at a bank, but I'm sure you learned some skills from there, and it allows you maybe to come up with some solutions because of all the different experiences you have had overall. And so one of the questions I had, going back to you being a dad, what skills do you feel you have learned from being a dad, from doing unpaid care work, that you feel you can apply to your current job, for example?
Focus, being focused
Uh-huh.
on one thing, not trying to do a lot of things. I think we adults tend to do a lot of things at the same time, but scientists often repeat that it's not good, or maybe not even possible. So, when kids play, they just play. They are
Right.
deep in the game, in the play, and I think that's really good to focus and be. In German, we say achtsam. I think
Uh-huh.
there's a word.
Mindful,
Yes,
maybe?
mindful, of course, mindful. Um, just doing one thing, maybe doing it a little bit slower,
Mm-hmm.
not being in a rush all the time. This is something I learned from my kids. Then being curious, asking questions, asking why. Sky is blue, why? Because. And then as a dad to try to answer. And the why never stops. And I think it's very important for us to ask why in the company world, in society, in family topics. Why are we doing it? And that's the only thing that is motivating at the end. So asking questions, asking why, and then having fun, maybe. Sometimes I think there are maybe even friends of mine. Now I'm 40. I was born in 1980, and I have some friends from my own old school, and sometimes I think they could be 50, 60 years old. Like they behave so.
Like the attitude, right? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I miss the fun. I miss the fooling around sometimes when I see others, and I just try to keep the fooling around, the joking, just doing stupid things. Kids love it, just throwing socks around the room and everything. And I don't know, maybe we men, fathers, we also like to do it because it's in our nature. Like the little kid in us still lives, but even in your job, you can have fun and do things and just I don't know how to describe it, but I think if we lose the fun, lose the joy in our job, but also of course in our family life, then we are like in in German we would say like wie eine Ratte im Laufrad, like a rat in a
Yeah.
how
Yeah, like a hamster. Maybe is it a hamster in something wheel? But I can't remember
like
the
a
word either.
hamster in a
But
wheel,
yeah,
just
yeah,
like this
it's a
routine,
downward spiral, right?
this
It's
routine.
yeah, right,
And
right, right, right. Yeah,
like getting up because it's my time, my clock says 6 o'clock, I have to get up, eating the same breakfast maybe every day. And I know we need routine, helps us to be um, like stabil, how do you say?
well, it's like maybe support. Like yeah, I know. Like it like see, I can't think of the word either. It's sort of, is it grounded? That's the word. It
Grounded,
helps you to be
yes, routine
grounded.
helps us be
Yeah.
grounded, but at the same
Yeah.
time, we have to break out sometimes and do
Yeah.
stupid things and do things outside your comfort zone. So
Yeah.
every year I try to do something I never did. Like 2 years ago, I started running, and then there was a day I ran a half marathon, like 22 kilometers, and maybe sometimes I even succeed in running a marathon. Maybe, I don't know. Or this year, no, last year we started ice bathing in the Baltic
Yeah,
Sea.
that was amazing. I read about it. I was like, that's just so brave. I've done it one time and it was cold. It was really cold.
But if you do things outside your comfort zone, you're kind of happy after it because you say, okay, I could do this. It didn't kill me. It was a new experience. How do you say it? The horizon was
Yeah, widened.
widened,
Right, right,
yes.
right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And maybe it was even fun. Like ice bathing is fun now for us because we are doing it for months now. And of
Right.
course, it's getting colder. Like today, we used our lunch break on the Baltic Sea was like 3 degrees. I don't know.
Yeah, we here in Canada it's also Celsius. So yeah,
It's also
cold.
Celsius, very
Yes,
cold.
very, very cold. Yes,
But
yes,
what
yes.
happens is that the body works against the cold, uh,
Mm-hmm.
warming up. So
Yeah.
it's like a bioshock. That's what I read about it, and that's
Okay.
that's an experience you only have when you use drugs or something. So what I would not do, but this is a very natural thing, and it helps your body to like become stronger and not
Okay.
getting sick so easy. So you're not only feeling good after it, but you have a new experience. And I think we should break out of our routine sometimes, trying out things. One time I had this dream, this wish to jump out of a window with a balloon. How do you say?
Okay. A parachute.
Parachute. Yes, I did this
Okay.
in a tandem with an experienced
Okay.
jumper, of course. But I would not say I have a bucket list, but I once read that people who are on their deathbed, who are asked what they deny. Is it deny?
Regret. It's
Regret.
regret.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
what they regret. A lot of them say, I would have tried this or that, maybe starting a company, a known company, or doing this, just trying things out. And a lot of them said, I just did this because I thought I should do it. People expected it. I did my job because my father wanted me to do this job, or I had maybe new children because I wanted to do my job. And I think now is the time to experience things, trying things out, asking questions, think about purpose for your life, for your work. And if you don't do this in your 20s, 30s, or maybe 40s, if we don't teach these things our kids, then it, it I'm afraid it is too late. And this is what my grandfather said when I interviewed him in my podcast. He said, I did this, tried that, and I thought, yes, I want to do this too. I don't want to work until I'm 70 years old when I don't need to work and then I can do things. No, I want to do things now, choose a job I like. Um, so it's about reflecting what you want, and it's about saying no. Maybe this is also important to teach our kids, saying no, not always do what everybody tells you to do, but think about what you want to do and what you don't want to do.
That sounds great. Now, Gabriel, is there anything else that you would like to tell our listeners that we haven't talked about today?
Like I mentioned in our little chat before, I really would like to visit Canada. And fun fact is, I worked for the Canadian Travel Commission for 6 months when I was in
Oh, wow.
Hamburg. I worked for this agency, DDB. They are like a global agency.
Uh-huh.
And we worked together with DDB Canada. I don't know if they were placed in Vancouver even. So
Mm-hmm.
I had all these beautiful pictures of Canada and videos, and I managed the social media sites, the German sites, Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, and so on. Flickr. I think nowadays nobody talks about Flickr anymore, by the way. But every day I saw these nice pictures of Banff and
Oh,
Vancouver,
yeah.
Toronto, and Lake Louise, and all these things. But I haven't been there until now. So that would be very nice to visit Canada, visit Vancouver one day, and so so there's a little connection even now.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. It really would be. And to make that happen also, that would mean that the whole pandemic and everything is back to, like, I don't think it'll ever be back to normal, but it'll be whatever new normal is
Yes.
defined. Yeah. Now, how can people find you on social media?
So I have this blog, gabrielrath.com.
Mm-hmm.
It is on German, but maybe Google Translate will help you. So I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn. Maybe LinkedIn is an easy way to connect. So I'm on a lot of social media platforms. Not every time to use it heavily, but to feel what is happening there. So you can try social media. You can check out my podcast, NewWorkChat, of course, newworkchat.de. That's the domain. Yes, that's it.
And I just have to say this, I feel your podcast beginning, I don't think I've ever seen or listened to one that is as authentic, because basically you have one of your children actually do the intro. And I just think it is such a perfect start, because it really shows who you are and how, as we talked earlier about, that it is the life work blending. And so I just wanted to say, like, it really is such a good idea, and it really, shows who you are. So I really appreciate that you came onto the show, Gabriel.
It was a pleasure for me.
Thank you very, very much.
So what I thought is I have to improve my English again because I don't talk so much in English right now. We have in Rostock, we have a big harbor where a lot of big ships board, or how do you say when they come to the harbor?
Well, they just arrive, but
arrive,
I guess,
yes,
yeah, or dock. I think maybe dock. Yeah,
exactly, and a lot of American tourists come to Germany because we have only 2 hours to Berlin, and a lot of them arrive in Rostock with the big ships, and then they drive to Berlin, visiting the Berlin Wall, etc. So sometimes we get to know some American tourists, and then you talk in English, but I'm missing the exercise. So that's what I should do, speak more in English. But I hope you understood what I was trying to say.
Absolutely. I thought it, worked really well. And I'm very appreciative that you were willing to come and talk about your experience to make more people learn more and, see what work-life blending can be from a dad's perspective and a new work focused, professional. So thank you very, very much.
I thank you.
I so appreciated Gabriel's willingness to come onto the show today and tell us about his experience regarding new work and work-life blending in Germany, so that more people around the world can learn about it. And it really has inspired me that I'm planning, hopefully in 2021, to also go onto a podcast as a guest on a Spanish-speaking podcast. And I will definitely have to catch up on my Spanish, because it's been many years since I was staying in a Spanish-speaking country. One more thing before we are ending this episode, please be sure to fill out the survey that I have put together for this first season of Job Sharing and Beyond, because I really want to make sure that for season 2, which is starting sometime in March, that I get all the feedback to ensure it is the most helpful and the best advice and best practice that people are looking for, who have been listening to my podcast and who are also trying to share these best practice examples around the world in their organization or in their respective country. So please go to the website. That is Emily's Path Consulting's website. So EMILYSPATH.ca. And I will also put a link to the survey in the show notes. And I really look forward to seeing you guys listening to the last guest episode, which is next week with Chris Park, and that will complete the guest episodes for season 1 of Job Sharing and Beyond. There will be several more episodes summarizing some of the topics we have discussed over the nearly past year. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We hope you gained valuable insights and new ideas. To keep listening to future episodes, please head over to iTunes or your favorite player and subscribe and give it a rating. We would very much appreciate a review and for you to share it on social media, so more people can start innovating in how they offer employment. Until the next time, goodbye!